that there are no wetlands, then we would accept that, but until then, those wetlands would need to be shown on the site plan and modifications made. The existing access drive meets our circulation requirements. That's item E. We do believe that there's safe and adequate sewage disposal. The use would be operational every day. This is a commercial corridor, so it's reasonable that use have those hours of operation. We don't anticipate that there would be additional demand for public services or facilities at this site. And the use is consistent with the M37 commercial character. In terms of specific standards for drive-throughs, we require that the access be from a public street, and that is met. We require that there's sufficient distance from the intersecting street and driveways to avoid adverse traffic conditions. We believe that that standard was met when we worked with Culvers. We made sure that that slip street and the driveway placement was adequate given the M37 boulevard design. Sufficient stacking is required, at least 10 spaces for the ordering service station, and the applicant meets this requirement. Adequate off-street parking with 3 parking spaces in close proximity for delivery orders. This standard is also met. They have 30 parking spaces available. The front yard setback is required, and that meets the ordinance. The trash receptacle. We note that there are 2 different dumpster locations in the plan set, so we're not sure which one is the official dumpster location, and I'm sure the engineer can review that with us. We do think that one of the dumpster locations is better than the other because of the one-way driveway and curbing arrangement shown on the site plan. This use is not adjacent to any residential, so they're not required to have any additional buffer. Going into the site plan standards, pretty much everything is consistent with our ordinance requirements. The setbacks are met, the dimensional standards are met, the driveway requirements are met. They have provided a concrete sidewalk along Broadmoor. It's within the right-of-way. We do note that there should be some type of sidewalk within the development connecting to the retail building from the parking lot. So there's a 16-space parking lot and a 9-space parking lot along the side property lines, and there's no clear way for a patron to access the building entrance from those parking lots. So that was something that we brought up in our site plan review. In terms of landscaping, we just wanted to reiterate that our ordinance says that if the calculation is not in increments of 100, that we do round up to the nearest 100 for the requirement for 100-foot landscape count. So 3 shade trees, 25 shrubs for each 100. So we would round up in this case and require additional landscaping. We wanted to add the following notes on the landscape plan about tree preservation. We'd like to have the tree preservation methods included on the site plan. Have a note that underground irrigation would be provided, that landscaping shall remain free of weeds, and that any plant material that fails to establish be replaced within the planting season. So we gave the applicant that language to add to their landscape plan. We added a condition that all mechanicals be buried, including the electrical in the front yard. We noted that the lighting meets the requirement of the ordinance, that there's no outdoor storage, and that utilities be placed underground. The signage would be reviewed by the zoning administrator, but to reiterate, we allow one wall sign per business, not more than 30 square feet in area. The parking meets the ordinance, and that is pretty much it for the site plan review. We do have the conditions of approval if the planning commission wishes to move forward with this. I do think that we want to talk about the wetland, have the conversation about the wetlands. But otherwise, the conditions that were mentioned in the staff report are also included here in the recommendation on page 6. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Is anyone here from the applicant who'd like to get up and give us a brief, preferably not how awesome your project is, but address some of the issues before we do?
Sure. Well, good evening. My name is Jeff Brinks. I'm with Venture Engineering. Yes, we're kind of like a bad penny here. Just keep popping up. So I believe this is the third time I've been in front of you for this particular project, and I know, as Lene mentioned, there was a car wash in the interim. As was mentioned, you have seen this site before and actually have approved it before. And the issues that have been raised in the review, no major concerns on our end. We can certainly work with staff to address the conditions that are outlined there. With regard to the wetland, Lene mentioned I did speak with Mr. Borman, your engineer, and he provided me with the plans that outline where the car wash site had identified there being wetland. So we will, make that a part of this condition to verify that and have our own independent investigation done on that, and we'll deal with it as it needs to be dealt with. So I think the only other, after the last meeting where this was approved with conditions, I think Lene had mentioned about the tree preservation. I think subsequent to this project kind of fizzling out the last time, we did make some of those changes already to a landscape plan. So I have some of those, I believe, already addressed that show the preservation of some of those white pine trees that you mentioned along the south side there. The only other thing I guess I'm a little confused was on the trash enclosure. You said there was two.
Well, this plan is here.
C1 has it in one location.
The back one. And then I think he gave us every single building plan.
Let's just say there's a lot of inconsistency through the plans. The cover sheet,
Oh, is that where it was?
which doesn't match the site, C0.
Oh, that's
Different.
Culver's.
That's Culver's,
Right,
no,
okay,
that was
my
not.
bad. It does match the site.
Hold on.
I saw it one day, I
I
know
don't
it's in
think I
there.
would have made it up.
No,
Oh, here on the lighting plan, it's up front.
No, it's the same spot.
The other
Oh,
plans
it's
have
here. Yeah, okay, yep.
So I just wasn't sure.
Yeah, I don't know why.
And here, this one.
Yeah, it's the lighting too. Yeah, must be the lighting.
So I just wasn't sure where you wanted to have it,
Yep.
and then with the one-way, I thought, well, does it make, I don't know which one.
This is what we were.
Okay, okay. And that'll
So
be okay with the
we were
truck?
planning on a front loader.
A front loader, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
and then they would come in and back out.
okay.
Which ones, because
This,
Yeah,
on the site.
Yeah, my apologies, that, the lighting plan, somehow the lighting electrical engineer got an old version or something. So we'll correct that. In fact, I think that may have already been done as well, in some stuff that we have.
remind me on the architectural standards, the entries, are they supposed to be recessed?
They are supposed to be recessed. We've also allowed the canopy to count as providing that articulation at the storefront.
But if I'm to read the plans directly, the entry is really on the west side, not the east side. I mean, the parking's on the west.
You have to get the plans back.
No, you're fine.
So the best I can tell by looking at it, the west elevation, which faces away from M37, has the canopies. The east elevation, which faces M37, is all flat.
On A3, on page A3, the east elevation would be facing Broadmoor,
Mm-hmm.
which has entry doors, the windows, and the parapets.
But the elevation's flat. So the side facing everybody coming down the road doesn't have the architectural detail that I get,
Well, they have the offset pilasters on A1.
Yeah, it's small, it's like 6-inch bump outs, I think.
yeah, it's not a lot of relief, thank you.
5 inches officially.
Yeah, 5 inches.
You look like you're gonna say something else, Tim.
No.
No. I mean, is that an issue? I get the fact that this is a little bit like when we're talking about a property on a lake, what's the front? Intentionally, the parking lot's in the back, which I don't necessarily mind. We have the recess entryways on the west side where they're entering, but on the side that everybody's driving by every day, we have a flat, non-reliefed exposure.
So we have in our ordinance, the blank walls shall be prohibited when facing any public or private road. Instead, pilasters at least 18 inches in width and projecting at least 3 inches. And these are 5.
All right. Okay. May want to look at that. Anything else, Jeff?
Nope, just happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Um,
Hopefully we don't come back again.
Anybody have anything before I open the public hearing?
No, you're the public, and then I do have some comments.
Okay. Take half a seat. So at this time, we'll open the public hearing for anybody in the public who'd like to comment about this agenda item. Seeing none, we'll close the public comment for item A. Mr. Bradshaw, come back up, John.
Sure. So the cover sheet and the set that we have certainly doesn't align with the plans really well, and I think the township engineer commented that need revision dates and stuff like that. So going forward, as you're working with the architect who I think owns the cover sheet, we would hope to see that look a little bit better. In particular though, the architect listed the building code as 2015, it's now 2021. And then as we were talking about canopies, I wanted to understand, maybe we could get all metal canopies. I think there's 1 metal canopy and 2 fabric canopies. And I just worry about the durability of a fabric canopy and how will that be cared for and what does it look like with the overall aesthetic. And I don't think the architect is here, so I don't know that you can answer those things, but those were things that I saw when I did the review. And I think everything else has been mentioned.
Yeah, I had noted the fabric awning in between two metal. I'd like to see metal all the way across because it's gonna fade and eventually, especially on the west side.
And if they're not doing like a full recessed storefront, but that's more of a durable kind of look, permanent look. You could add condition 11 that all architectural standards shall be met with clear glass, non-tinted windows, and all metal awning.
You got that?
Clear glass, all tinted windows, and
Non-tinted.
non-tinted.
Yeah.
That would have been a major change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
that's all I had.
Mr. McLean? I'm good. Mr. Visser?
Nothing.
Good.
All right, anything additional, Ms. Linne, that we need to concern ourselves with? I mean, it's not our first rodeo, you're going to address the wetland, which is part of the conditions.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, I do believe that I believe that you've mislabeled the east and west elevation on here, that the.
Oh, and the architectural
Yeah,
plans? Okay,
yeah.
yep, we'll let them know
The
that.
east would be the A2, and the west would be A3. I think that was part of the confusion.
No, the west,
I think that's right.
A2 is west,
Correct.
correct,
Is that right?
yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
building's backwards. North turns on these plans, there's not a consistent north.
Okay. The one labeled west elevation on A2 would front Broadmoor.
No. That's away from Broadmoor. That's towards the parking lot in the back. That's where I was going with the side that faces Broadmoor, it's all flat. But the ordinance only has 3 inches, that's why we should.
I think that we should talk about that because I think we would want to see what is labeled the west elevation facing Broadmoor.
I don't disagree, it's the side facing the parking lot. You know, so there's a flip side, do you want the parking in front or the parking in back? I want parking in back and a better looking front, but according to the ordinance, it only requires 3 inches and they have 5.
Yeah, and I would also want the front of the building facing our main street, not the back, not the B side of the building. And put a sidewalk around the building so people can park there. If they want to enter the front, they can, but if they want to enter,
Well,
the building would have, people could enter the back door or the front door.
so if drawing C1 is to be believed, there's sidewalk on the front, no connection to the back, so I'm not quite certain. When I say the front, I'm saying Broadmoor side.
Right.
So there's no way for anyone to park and walk around. Only pedestrian traffic would be going entering from the Broadmoor side,
Right,
from the pathway.
right.
I'm just saying, I don't mind the parking lot in the back, all the uglies behind the building, but the front of the building, the Broadmoor side of the building is not the pretty side of the building.
Correct.
And there's nothing in our ordinance correct that says the side facing the travel or that? I thought we had put something in after Taco Bell, but that might have just been the bump outs for the, so it wasn't a flat wall. Stand by, Jeff, while we sort this.
Very good.
The primary entrance to a commercial building should be oriented towards the street and the sidewalk. Orienting the primary entrance to a parking area, courtyard, and open space without addressing the street-facing facade with entrances, display windows, increased architectural elements, increased landscaping, or other pedestrian facilities is prohibited.
So,
So you either need to match the same architecture on the dressed up side that's on the west. That either needs to be on the facing Broadmoor, or you need to do both. Both need to look like that.
go ahead.
I guess I generally tend to disagree. I just heard you read the ordinance there, and this seems to meet all the requirements of the ordinance. They have doors on the front, they have, you know, I'm not an architect, but, what do we call it? What are the setbacks, the indentations? I mean, they're 5 inches, we require 3. I mean, to me, it looks like it meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance.
Can you read that again one more time?
The primary entrance to a commercial building should be oriented toward the street and the sidewalk. Orienting the primary entrance to a parking area, courtyard, or open space without addressing the street-facing facade with entrances, display windows, increased architectural elements, increased landscaping, and/or other pedestrian-oriented features is prohibited, unless the planning commission finds otherwise in instances where buildings have multiple frontages.
Okay, let's focus on the items that allow us to do this. Let me find I'm following you, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
take this step by step here.
No, I appreciate that.
So if I look at the east elevation on A3, are those considered display windows next to the doors?
What element, you looking at what, E3?
A3.
A3.
So do we have display windows and doors on the front of the building?
Well, I
On
mean,
the-
display window, I mean, now you're
Yeah, I
talking
know.
legalistic hairs, but, you know, to me, I mean, they're open, you know, they display, I mean, I think traditionally a display window would probably be, you know, something that's floor to ceiling and, you know, perhaps wall to wall, right? So you'd have you know, that'd be a traditional display window, but you can see into the premises.
All right. The next one was enhanced,
Increased architectural elements.
so do we have so here's where the hair is split. Do we have increased or do we have minimum? Now, we have 2 inches more, but I don't know that I would call that increased.
And
architectural
I read
standards.
it to mean by increased architectural standards, I read it basically to deferring over again to the standard that we were talking about, where you have a minimum of a 3-inch change in, the front. I mean, I guess I see by increased, I think it means that you're not just getting a flat wall, or you're not just getting a single material. I mean, I look at the architectural elements on this and, you know, although, you know, I do see the necessary changes in the depth of the building, I see multiple uses, you know, and changes in materials across the front of it. I mean, to me, it looks, you know,
Where are we at with landscaping? Is landscaping increased or minimum? Up front.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
You can see right here, my name is Mike Hausman with Wolverine Building Group. As you can see, there's significant landscaping up front there. And if you were to compare A2 and A3, side by side, and you can do that, Jeff, on here, that it's hard to tell the difference. And she can zoom out. I mean, considering that this elevation, you're,
We can't see it because, there we go. You have to go diagonal opposite of what you're supposed to.
Thank you, thank you. I was just gonna point out that for a traditional back of a building, if you were to look at this, this is really nice. I mean, the stone's gonna be very similar to what you see on the culvert, and it's identical to what you see up front. The only difference is you don't have the side lights or the canopies, but you got enhanced reveals with the pilasters. I think it's a gorgeous back, and then you add that landscaping in there.
But,
And that's the one that faces Broadmoor.
yes,
That's the one that faces Broadmoor right there.
so is the landscape enhanced, right? That's the checkbox. Is it the minimum landscape out, I get it, you have nice landscaping out there.
Sure.
But is it the minimum, or
That I don't know.
I mean, that's we're checking boxes as we go here. I mean, if I saw more of a depth than 5 inches, I might be less.
And I guess, I mean, to me, I think about it like an enhanced design standard, like if they were coming to us and this was a as-of-right project instead of a special land use, you know, I mean, this is certainly enhanced over what they would have to do if it was a as-of-right project. I don't think they'd have to put any landscaping up front.
No, actually, they would.
Really?
Yeah, we do require that.
Oh, especially in that corridor, there's a lot of landscaping requirements.
Well, that's a bit unusual, but I'm just here to enforce the rules, so.
So, Mr. Chairman, I can confidently say that, Mike Brand would be willing to, if it's not enhanced under the code, that he would add landscaping to meet staff's requirement for that. I mean, you know, he wants it to look good too, cause that's gonna be a successful building. You know, you find today, people with bad landscaping, it's not a healthy environment, it's not a healthy retail center. So you see a lot of that around these buildings, so.
I mean, and let's face it, we drive by it every day. Our
So do
citizens
I. I
drive
actually
by it,
work out here.
you know, so it's a
drive by.
matter of, we don't wanna see it either.
Well, that's why I'm saying that I'm confident that Mr. Brand would add landscaping if it's not enhanced under your code.
Speaking of the landscaping, I had this thought earlier. We are out of the right-of-ways there, correct? I couldn't find a drawing with it on there, but
Yeah,
that
the
doesn't mean.
bold line to the left of the sidewalk would be the right-of-way line.
Yeah, there's a
Okay.
dash line.
All right.
I can't read it.
I wasn't sure if that
right
was a
here.
match line or a.
Oh, the dark line is the right of way right there.
Okay. Now, does that consumer's easement end?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, it ends partway into the site.
I mean, you know, the alternative, I mean, I'm just thinking practically here, right? I mean, the alternative would be that they really functionally have to set that building back substantially further, right? In order to front load the parking on it and to make that a functional front entrance on this building. I mean, you know,
Then
that'd
they
be
have
the only
other
way to do
issues
that.
of stacking for Big B and.
Right,
You know,
and I'm
so-
wondering, you know, is that what, as I'm driving through on this corridor, I mean, do I wanna see, you know, basically something that's more front-loaded and has a drive-through on the side and the parking is in the rear? Or do I, you know, as I'm driving through, would I rather see, you know, a bunch of parking lots and cars parked in front of me?
Oh.
I'm just, you know, I'm just thinking.
No, I just wanna make sure, like, we're following the rules and then
Right.
we're,
Maybe there could be metal awnings on this side too,
it just seems flat to me.
over the.
Again, I'm not an architect though, I'm an engineer, I'm an.
I agree with you that it would probably architecturally would help. I think it would balance it out a little bit and be a little bit more attractive if there were perhaps some awnings on the front or something like that. I'm not saying over, you know, each of the demised spaces, but even.
Just over the door.
Right,
Yeah.
so, you know, So, I agree, but I don't know if we have, you know, the ability to tell them that they gotta do that.
Well, it's a special land use, so yes.
Yeah, I know.
So if we added some canopies to that elevation, would that be more in line with what you're,
I think so, because it's not gonna, I mean, 5 inches is only,
And again, we're
Right.
talking metal canopies, right?
right, yeah. like-
Yeah, we don't want, you know, we don't want a fiber canopy up there.
And I think even just horizontal, I don't think I think it would look funny, again, engineer, not architect, but it seems a triangle canopy would look funny
Mhm.
up there.
Yeah, if you look at this one, this is what we would
Mhm.
match right there.
Yep.
And we just place them over the doors, you know, in this area right here.
Yeah, something that makes it,
Here.
Or over the windows, I mean, whatever, you know, whatever the architect kinda comes up with that would look stylish, right?
Yeah, I think it framed well here,
mhm.
here, and here.
Yeah, I mean, I think he did a good job on the backside, you know, changing the elevations and the sizes of those and that sort of thing, and I think that's, you know, just kinda repeat that on the front. Probably won't get any objections.
You added 12.
Well, it all fits in 11, I think.
Okay, you'll make it 11. Yeah. Okay.
All right, I make a motion that we approve the special land use subject to the conditions and the planner's letter dated December 8th, 2025. And add condition 11 that clear glass, non-tinted windows shall be in all windows, as well as metal awnings similar to the one awning that was shown on the plan over all 6 doors and windows.
We have a motion by Bradshaw, support by, I'll support McLean. Any other further discussion, questions, clarifications? Ms. Linne, you good?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, roll call. McLean? Yes. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Visser?
Yes.
Cutler?
Yes.
And Curtis votes yes, motion passes. Thank you. Item B, 6B, submittal deadlines and meeting dates. This is carryover. The only correction I would say is, right now, January 5th says no meeting / holiday. Obviously, we are here, so,
There's a new one from today. You got-
or let me throw that on the floor and get the new one from today.
Yeah, I switched it because we had that meeting that didn't occur, to keep them on the agenda.
Then I don't have anything to say about it. We need a motion to accept the meeting, dates, times, and submittal. Or is this, do we need a motion for this?
Yeah, might as well just
All right.
approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2026 submittal deadlines and meeting dates as presented.
I'll support.
Motion by Curtis, support by Cutler. Any other discussions,
Are
comments?
all of you okay with the President's Day? That is the 16th of February? Just wanna check. Okay.
All right, so we have a motion by Curtis, support by Cutler. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Item 7A, Cherry Valley Resources unfinished business. Cherry Valley Resources to reconsider modified setback per township board's recommendation of the 200-foot from the property line, resulting in less than the 500-foot setback to some adjacent homes. Minimum new setback to homes would be 274 feet. Lands requested for mineral removal activity include 7350 and 7366 Cherry Valley. Applicable parcel numbers include a total of 49 acres, including 412309, 326002, and 301008. Ms. Linne, the short version as we've seen
Yeah.
this.
Unfortunately, I don't have this in the packet. I don't know. This is just an updated memo from the report that's required by the Planning Commission to be filed. As I mentioned at the previous meeting, the Township Board reviewed your initial recommendation, which was to approve adding this land to the PMR mining area. You did not recommend approval of the reduced setback when it was originally submitted. It was would have only been 174 feet at the closest point of mining to the nearby home. During discussions with the Township Board and the applicant, The applicant has resubmitted the request, which would result in additional 100-foot for that setback, making the total setback 274 feet from the nearest dwelling. So we also looked at some of their grading plans and restoration plans of the site if they were to develop in the future for residential. There would be a 50-foot required setback. Certainly, we realize that the construction period for home building is different than the mining. However, this setback is much greater than what would be in place if this were to simply be developed. So the report is just something required by the Planning Commission. We would like you to make a motion one way or the other to accept the report with this recommended modified setback that would be reduced to 274 feet versus the 500.
All right, so I'm gonna state this again, just so we're all on the same page. First time around, they wanted 100 feet.
Yep,
We denied it, sent it to the board. The board, thinking that the board could make changes to it. The board thought, hey, 274 feet, and then through a technicality in our ordinance, which is only this ordinance, it appears,
yep.
It says the township board and planning
And.
commission must agree
Recommend.
on this. So we know the board agrees at 274 feet, correct, Tim?
Yeah,
Correct.
well, more
200, I
specifically, 200 feet from the property line, the closest
Okay,
to a house, I think, is 254
54.
feet.
But that wouldn't be part of the ordinance. The ordinance would be 200, right? I mean, that's just a factual. 254 feet from the existing house is just a factual representation. That doesn't have anything to do with the ordinance, right?
well, it does say here in item 3, shall be located no closer than 254 feet to occupied dwellings.
Yes.
So that's why I wanted to make, I'm saying this all out loud, so we all hear this again. So it's not the is it supposed to be 274 or 254?
254.
So in our agenda item where it says 274 should be 254.
254.
Tim, board says 254?
The board says 200-foot property line setback, which results in a 254-foot measurement from the current nearest occupied dwelling.
And the reason, like, our zoning ordinance for the PMR has 2 setbacks. One is a property line setback that cannot be waived. You know, it's a minimum 100. And the applicant is offering an additional 100, right? That's great. The other required setback measurement in our ordinance is from an occupied dwelling. That says 500 unless waived by the Planning Commission and Township Board. So that's why I keep going back to the occupied dwelling measurement, because that's the only one that can be waived versus the setback from the property line. Even though they meet it, even though they meet the setback from the property line. You know,
Right.
they exceed it by 100, they doubled it.
And by right, if they were to develop this as residential, they could go within 50 feet of the property line
Yeah.
and pretty much do whatever they want.
Yeah, the setback, a home setback is 50 feet from the rear property line. We don't even really have necessarily a grading setback. So there could be activity up to the property line.
Okay. All right. So we're all clear. So here's our choices. 1, we say no, it goes back to the board, they send it back to us. We're in a circle. We know normally under our ordinance rules. We make a recommendation to the board, and then the board can make adjustments to it. In this one ordinance, in the entire ordinances, we have an "and" that needs to be addressed in a change. We're the non-elected officials of the township, and the board is the elected officials of the township. So we can deny it, send it back to the board. Likely the board will send it back to us and say, take another look at it. We'll get into a infinite loop of this going back and forth, or we can approve it. Those are our two options. Ms. Cutler, you have a thought. You're looking at me.
No, I was just paying attention.
Oh,
Sorry.
so that's where we're at. Are we, anybody have other thoughts on this? We need a motion one way or the other.
Well, here's what I think. I'll just throw this out. Right now, as the ordinance currently sits, essentially, what you're telling me is that we have 100-foot required setback from the property line is the closest that they can excavate to, okay? And they have to maintain a distance of 500 feet between that point where they excavate to and an occupied dwelling, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Because I know Bobby Deller's got a piece of property up there, you know, abandoned, he doesn't have an occupied dwelling, it's right on the corner, if you know which property I'm talking about. After, it's right across from the Lutheran church there, right
Yeah,
across
yeah.
the street. So, but you know, Bobby hasn't lived there for 15 years, right? It's an abandoned property, so I assume it wouldn't apply to his property, but, you know, it seems like the power right now is in the hands of the homeowner, right? Because if the company wants to extract additional materials and they want to dig closer to the 100-foot setback, they essentially have to go to a homeowner and they have to talk to the homeowner and they maybe have to say, hey, we want to buy your house, we want to tear down your place, we want to do whatever in order for them to extract additional materials. And we've been here and the homeowners that are around there say we don't want additional mining closer than what it currently is. And I think they had a reliance interest in that when they purchased their property because that's how the zoning ordinance was set up. So to me, why don't we leave it, to me, it seems like we should continue to leave it in the hands of the homeowners. If the mining company wants to expand their operation, they gotta make a deal with the homeowner. That's how it's set up right now. I mean, that's how they get around it. Am I wrong?
That's the way the ordinance is written, it allows us to make changes.
Well, I understand.
It's not a hard number, it just says it may be approved by the, planning commission and the board. Normally, for example, in the, special use that we did, it was a recommendation to the board.
Mhm.
When the board approves that, they can make changes to anything we say. They could come and say, we don't want awnings.
Sure. Well,
We don't have-
they're the
we
ones
don't-
that, right.
We don't, due to a technical, I don't wanna use the word error, but technical write-up issue, this says "and" in who can make changes. So we both have to agree.
Well,
Right now,
it's a double and, right? Because the zoning ordinance requires an and, right? That it has to be not more than 100 feet from the property line and not more than 500 feet from an existing homestead. And now any changes require planning commission and the board to sign off on it. So we really got, to me, there's two different ands that we're kind of looking at that we kind of have to be cognizant of it. So for me, I mean, my kind of thought is send it back to the, back to the board, and if they want to do something with it, they do something with it. If they don't, they don't. I mean, I personally am not, I just don't, I understand that our zoning ordinance is more restrictive than neighboring townships might have, where it's just a straight 200 or 100 feet, and they don't have the proviso that includes distance from existing residents, but, I mean, that's what we got. I don't know why we should come to the party afterwards and change that. I just don't see why we wanna change it.
So in essence, you're saying we should approve it and send it back to the board?
I'm saying deny their, request and send it back to them. I mean, that's what I understood the options to be, were kind of binary, was like, accept as written or deny and send back.
And that's kind of what we did before you were on the planning commission. Certainly, the drawing that we've received from the applicant is different because it was basically following the direction of the board on what the board thought made a little bit of sense as compared to what other townships do. And I think the legislative quandary that we continue to have is it says and. Most things, this would just go to the board and the board would say, I think the board has consensus that they like the 200-foot thing.
Right.
If the planning commission wants it to go around and around, I think we have that power, but I don't know that it's fair to the applicant or even the property owners. They just continue to be in limbo. So, that's what I struggle with, and I generally agree with your approach too. I side more with the property owners that have put, most people, 70% or more of their wealth is tied up in the house that they live in. And that's a big deal to change the potential value of that by what the mining distance is. And that's a big deal to me. So.
But at the end of the day, if they were to develop it out for homes, they can go right up to the property line and remove.
I get that,
A
but
whole lot of-
that's another day.
Well, that's by right. I mean, there's no, I guess what I'm saying is, that's just saying that if they wanted to do that, put homes in there, which were likely the neighbors don't want homes in their backyard.
And this is
Typical-
a potential grading plan for a potential neighborhood layout, so you can see.
But then but then at that point, they wouldn't have an extraction permit anymore. They would have a mineral extraction permit.
But they would still be removing, help me out here, Tim. Starting at the property line, which is 790. Within that first 200 feet, they would be removing 60 feet?
They couldn't remove it. They couldn't remove it off-site. They'd have to use it on-site. The materials, because otherwise they could use it for a borrow pit, but they can't use it for a mineral extraction site anymore after that. So those houses at that point are gonna be are basically gonna be 200 feet from the lot line, but they're gonna have to be built at a higher elevation. That's what they're gonna leave.
All right, I'm typically with you on.
Sure. I think for the sake of hopefully putting this to bed someday, I don't love the 200-foot property line setback, but I do think it's surrounded by data and what others around us are doing. And the fact that if we do nothing, the property owner could say, well, shoot, we're all out of minerals, let's develop it now. And then they cut down the trees right up to the southern property line and start grading. Frankly, this buys a little bit of time and saves that 200 foot of woods until the minerals are gone. So I think neither side is probably happy with this solution as far as homeowners and the mine. And that's why I think in complex problems, if both people are unhappy, you probably found the right mediation. So even though I personally don't like how the homeowners are getting less than what the ordinance says when they bought a house, I think the fact that this is supported by other townships around us, we've done a lot of research, and because the board, I think, besides me probably, has clear consensus that they like a 200-foot setback. I think that's where we're gonna end up eventually, whether that's after this meeting or 6 months or a year from now, I don't know. But
Eventually, my take is they direct us to change the ordinance.
Right,
To
or-
align with all the other ordinances.
Right, or the township board could just change the ordinance and take and out of it, and then it's a township board decision at that point.
Right.
So,
That's the point, I guess that's the change I was
Yeah.
talking. Because for consistency's sake, it's the only spot where an and exists.
mhm.
And I don't think it's intentional that it was done that way. I really don't. It predates me, obviously, but I'm guessing if all the other ordinances are written to where the township board can override, that the intent for this one was.
So yeah, legalistically, we would probably say the opposite. That
You'd
if
say it
there's-
was
if there's-
intentional,
That
but
if there's one that varies, then there had to be an intentional difference.
tomato, tomato. So we're not gonna spend all night here without a motion, so, Tim?
So I don't really wanna make this motion, because when it comes to the board, I don't wanna vote yes on it here and no at the board. So if we're gonna vote or make a motion to approve this, I would prefer that someone else does it.
Well, because I'm the chair and sometimes.
Is there any comment allowed on this?
It's not a, public hearing, but I'll give it to you if you,
Well, and I think we know where you
Go.
stand.
Yeah, right.
I mean, come up, give us your
Slightly
name,
different
keep it 2 minutes.
Yeah, just listening to the discussion, and looking at the ordinance in 17:4-E, it really pretty clearly says that there's no obligation for any change. The 500 feet is there, and that the applicant must prove that there will not be any serious adverse consequences. And it goes on to say, to consider additional noise from the additional activities, additional truck traffic, decreased air quality and odors, reduced property values. These are just specifically the things I've written a letter. When this was brought up last February, there's a lot more people from the public here. It wasn't just one homeowner. I've been the one that's followed this and kept coming, but there is no obligation. Yes, they can ask the board to change this to 500 feet, but in 2003, this was changed, so I believe, I wasn't there, but it makes sense that homeowners would be more than 500 feet away from an industrial mining site. People don't want to live this close to an industrial mining site. This land is zoned rural residential. The town has given them approval to mine materials. These are neighbors. Residential sounds residential. It doesn't sound commercial. This is our neighbor. And they said, the town has said, okay, you can take some minerals out of here, but stay 500 feet away. And then there is space that you all can consider it, but they have to prove to you all that there won't be serious adverse effects to folks that have bought and moved into this neighborhood nearby. We are their neighbors, and they have to prove that, and that's part of what even some of the documentation that I printed out, that you all have to agree that there is not serious adverse consequences. And I can't totally judge that. This is not a field I work in, but I'm pretty sure there will be dust, there will be additional noise, there will be reduced property values, and that's covered in 17:4E2. And so I think it's not a matter of necessarily compromising and just saying, yeah, we want to be fair to everybody. It's in the ordinance, and this is how I moved here from Kentucky and moved to the site. That's what I would like the focus to remain on, rather than how to make the applicant happy. That's not the ordinance. So those are my comments. Thank you for letting me come up.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any further discussion before I?
Would I be able to speak on behalf of the applicant?
Oh, well, yeah, I didn't realize you were here for that.
Mr. DeGroot.
Good evening, Don DeGroot with Excel Engineering, and Kim apologizes for not being able to be here, but I think I reiterated at a previous meeting that 500 setback gives you flexibility. It's not a hard number, and I think the Denhartigs have been in the mining operation for a long time in this area, and you can go to most of the neighbors, and in fact, there was a neighbor here that I think at the last meeting that said that they were certainly not opposed to this additional mining. There was also, I believe, Ms. Woods and Mr. Ziem, who are directly adjacent to the property owners, and they also, while Ms. Woods did not come up and speak against it, and Mr. Ziem just indicated that the applicant in the mining operations did a good job. And so I think all those factors play into the ability to modify that 500-foot setback. So I think that's important to keep in mind, not if it's 500 feet, there's no negotiating. But Mr. Hicks's property is about 500 feet away from that 200-foot setback. It's about 490 feet. And so if there was a big concern there, I guess that's an additional benefit to him not being an adjacent property owner where he's more than 500 feet or just under 500 feet from where that setback is now placed at our, at the board's suggestion, and we agreed to that for that 200-foot property line setback. So I think the history of the mining and the neighbors who lived around that mining for many years should all be at least considered as part of your determination on if a 254 setback from a property owner that's not voiced any opposition be considered as part of your review of the report and what goes back to the township board. Thank you.
No matter what we do, we should make sure that the dates in the resolution are updated. And there's two references to a site grading plan dated December 31st, 2024. Everything in my packet is dated October 15th, 2025. So I think those references should be corrected in whatever motion.
Which one are you looking at?
Whereas, so in the middle of page 2, whereas Cherry Valley Development applicant has applied for the amendment of the PMR permit and to include the lands listed on the site grading plan dated.
$424.25.
But the latest revision is typically what you would reference, and that's 10/15/25.
10/15/25.
Yeah.
Are they all the same date? This one doesn't have a date on it. But I see 3 sheets with 10/15/25. Do you concur?
Yes.
A 4th sheet with no date.
It says worksheet 4/8, but it doesn't have a title block.
You need that sheet? This is just for reference. If they put houses.
Right, it's
I
a
don't think it's part of the
schematic
Right.
I don't think it's-
neighborhood layout.
All right. We're gonna do something, so. All right, make a motion to approve these, Cherry Valley Resources modified setback per the board's recommendation of 200 feet from the property line, for the parcels with the PMR, the resolution modifications on page 2, modifying the site grading plan from December 31st, 2024 to October 15th, 2025.
And today's date.
And, yeah, sorry. And change the date of the meeting to the 5th day of January, 2026. There's not
I
a
guess
date.
I'm looking here just at the, sorry to
Hold on.
interrupt, but the language is actually written in the resolution to recommend. And it actually talks about a mining setback of 200 feet from the southern property line of the PMR district. Just wonder why not 250 feet, or 200 feet from the property line? Why is it limited to the southern property line?
That's a good point. The drawings show it 200 feet from all property lines, but
Right.
we
We
could,
would not be opposed to the 200-foot from the property
Yeah,
line,
so-
not just the southern part.
maybe we strike southern to
Southern,
prevent
if we
any
strike
future
southern,
confusion.
That'll make, it would make more sense. It just doesn't make any sense if it just restricts to the southern line.
All right, so let's start over. All right, make a motion to approve the Cherry Valley Resources modified setback per the Township Board recommendation of 200 feet from the property line for 7350 and 7366 Cherry Valley, modifying the resolution to recommend by inserting today's date on the top of the first page, modifying the planned date of December 31st, 2024 to October 15, 2025, and striking southern from the last sentence of item 3 on the last page. My motion has been made.
Second that motion?
Motion by Curtis, support by Visser. Please stand by while I write this down. Any other further discussion, comments? Roll call. McLean,
No.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Visser,
No.
Cutler.
Yes.
Curtis votes yes. Motion to recommend to the board passes. All right, item 7B, updated resolution from preliminary site condominium review and consideration for Patterson Place, 7528 Patterson Avenue. Applicant is Mark Pong. Short version, Ms. Linay, please.
Yes, you do have an updated resolution from the one that was in your packet. We did have a few things we wanted to clarify, and because this is a phased project, which was not originally contemplated back when the Township Planning Commission reviewed the resolution a few months ago. The major changes in the resolution before you, number 1, refer to phasing. Number 2, the resolution incorrectly called the roadways private roads when they are access drives. So we made that change. At your desk, I had a version of this resolution. It has pink highlighter on the front, and in yellow are changes that we made to just clarify the timing of some items. So I want to turn your attention to page 5. We clarify the resolution so that sidewalks adjacent to any townhouse building should be constructed prior to certificate of occupancy. We don't want those to be delayed like 2 years. We want those done. That the 8-foot wide blacktop pathway system, that's along 76 and Patterson from lot line to lot line. We want that done regardless of phase. We want it done prior to any building permit being issued. Further, no building permit shall be issued for any townhouse until sidewalks in front of any common areas, like the stormwater facility, in that phase, in whatever applicable phase, that those sidewalks be built prior to building permit. And then because of the phasing, there's the amenity of that natural walking path. That's actually in phase 2. So we wanted to make sure that the residents of phase 1 would have access to that. So we've added this last sentence that says that the developer shall also provide a barrier-free connection from the sidewalk system in phase 1 to the common area and construct the wood chip path within the common area as shown on the approved plan. So that's on page 5. On page 6, this one relates to the water main. The applicant did agree to construct water main off-site, And that off-site connection is from the north property line of Patterson Place to Whispering Stream Lane. And instead of waiting for the second or third phase for that to be constructed, this resolution would require that water main to be constructed in phase one, prior to a building permit in phase one. And then on page 8, under the phasing paragraph, we added the term sidewalk and pathways, just so it's clear that those are part of this phasing requirement. And that the site, including the future phase development areas, shall be restored and stockpiles lowered to a 5-foot maximum height upon the completion of each phase. That's because we don't want a situation where, say, only phase one is built, and then the rest of the site looks like it does right now. We want to make sure that, I mean, we know that the grading permit encompasses some of that site restoration, but we really want to make sure that that site is restored and we're not left with, you know, what looks like a construction site for several years before any future phases are constructed.
All right, what, are you all set?
I think that's it for those highlights, yes.
While I'm talking, can you put up the phase plan on the screen? Do you have it?
I don't have it.
Does anybody have it?
I have it in email, but not
Yeah.
in paper.
I can put up.
Is anyone from the applicant here?
Mark's here.
Okay, sorry. All right, so for clarity for Mr. Visser.
Yeah, please.
So this was originally approved as a single construction project. So our thoughts and everything was, everything's being built at one time, continuous construction, and so that's the thought. Since then, the applicant has asked to do a phasing plan. Can you kind of circle phase
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3, and Mark,
sure
correct
can.
us if we get it wrong?
This is phase one,
Out to Patterson, is that
out
correct?
to Patterson, yeah.
No. Buildings 1, 2, and 3 are not part of
Oh,
phase.
they're not.
They are?
They are, yeah.
Okay,
So basically this. This was phase two, this lag. And here is that open space with the wood chip path. So phase one would end here. And then phase two is here,
phase 3,
or phase three, thank you.
you got it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so now, instead of constructing whole, we're constructing in pieces. We don't know when the timeline between phase 1, 2, and 3. Obviously, the developer is wanting continuous, but we don't know as a township what the
What the
economy is,
market's- yeah, for
if it's
sure.
actually gonna happen.
Yep.
Now, can you point out the internal sidewalks
Yeah,
that need to be constructed so we're all clear? Because I know you said a lot, but
Yeah.
sometimes the picture is worth a
So
thousand
thi-
words.
this dark line here, along the 76, and then over to Patterson, that's the pathway. And that's something we wanted done prior to building permit for phase one.
Okay.
We have internal sidewalks that connect to the units. They go around the units. And those would be built before a C of O is issued for building one. Say we want this sidewalk built, that's around it.
Okay.
Right? This sidewalk here that goes around the drainage facility, or even say the sidewalk here that doesn't front a building, those would have to be done prior to these building permits being issued, because you can't really tie those to a C of O because they're not in front of a specific unit. And then when we talk about the water main,
Yeah,
that is from
slide it a little bit.
basically over here to this property line of Patterson Place.
Where's sewage going?
The other direction. Sewage comes in off of 76.
Okay.
Water main is coming off 76 also, has to complete the 12-inch coming down.
I think it comes through the property.
Yep, through, the water main will eventually go
Up to here.
up to and connect to the northern side of the property, so.
Yeah. The water, the sewer and the water main follow. Connect from 76 and head up
We ran out of window.
to this corner.
So phase one will be tapped off at 76th Street and the water line from the property line north to Whispering Stream. Thank you.
That'll all be in phase one or what?
That'll be in phase one.
Is this an expandable site condominium project or what?
It's structured to be built in phases.
Well, I understand that, but what I'm asking is that structure to be built in phases, but it's all being put together in a single master deed, and is it expandable or contractible? Is there anything in the master deed that talks about any of that?
Come on up so it's on the microphone or I'll get yelled at.
I'm not able, I'm Mark Pong. I'm not able to, it is expandable and contractible, it's by phase. Couple of things, Todd Borman said that, so as far as these phases, these were reviewed through Todd. And originally, I have a couple of concerns, because this is the first I've seen, like completing the pathway to the nature path. We're not building the entire retaining walls along there, so that's gonna be a problem. On the Patterson Avenue, where we were gonna stop it at the end of phase one, and then Todd said we could do a performance bond for the water main, but that was, when we first looked at these phases, it was going to be, we didn't have to do the water main until the third phase. And then Todd came back and said that we need a performance bond. So I do want to cover some of these things, because there's substantial changes that are being put into this that have not been reviewed or we've given any feedback on.
So I'm gonna just cut you short here because we've been through this. So the goalpost has been moved. Grading has been done without a permit on the site.
Can I talk
No.
about that a little bit?
You either have a permit or you don't. Did you have a permit? Yes or no?
When we did the right-of-way,
Did you have a permit to move dirt on the site? Yes or no?
we were told we could use for staging and stuff because of all the work in the right-of-way, and then,
Did you have a permit?
no.
Thank you. So now we're having a revised plan. We need to look at it as individual components of this. If you want to discuss with the township these items that we have in place here, then we'll table this and do that. We're not here to debate it. This is what we put on the table. You either are agreeing to it, or we table it, or we deny it. Those are your choices. Which choice do you want to pick tonight?
Well, we're gonna have to table it because but what I don't understand is this was presented months ago, so why
But
are
it
we
wasn't
hearing it
presented to
tonight?
us, so at this
But-
time, I make a motion to table item 7B.
Support. I think we could have further discussion though.
We can, but I'm just saying, we're here. We're not to debate, we're not going to debate whether we're gonna remove it or add to it tonight. This is the resolution as presented tonight, and this is what we will have. We're not gonna change it tonight. That's between the township representatives and you to sort out. The goalpost has been moved on this project. And, you know, I've had discussions with staff, and anytime a plan has been changed from a whole project to phasing, needs to come back before the planning commission for approval, because it does change the way we think about the project.
If I could add one comment, these phases were before we came to the planning commission.
But
for
it's
the-
not what we approved at the planning commission.
No, but the phases were detailed, they were detailed, I think we decided this almost a year ago.
But it was not what was
Even,
approved by the
even
planning
with the
commission.
extensions that we did,
It was not approved by the planning commission as phases. It was always as one big project.
Just as you're going through this thing too, I mean, just consider that, I'm gonna ask you questions about what's happening on the master deed, okay? I'm gonna wanna know basically where this project sits as far as, you know, if this is the existing dimensions of the project and it's in fact a contractable project, I'm gonna wanna see what's a must be built and what's a may be built and all those sort of things. I mean, I'm gonna need to see that, okay? So. Cause again, I think that's part of probably, you know, what our issue is here is that we don't wanna get involved in a situation where a project is not completed, okay?
well, who has seen, because we went back and forth, the attorneys went back and forth, so I assumed you guys have seen that, but you haven't?
All we've seen is what's in the packet here.
Yeah, we only see stuff that comes to a planning commission meeting, things that happen behind the scenes with staff.
Okay.
We don't see it.
So unless you're presented to us, we can't make changes. This is a significant change to the site plan and requires rethinking by all of us on our original thoughts.
Right.
And therefore, these additions can either be agreed to, not agreed to, or, you know, discussed at a later time. But this is not, the planning commission isn't going to make the changes because we don't have enough.
Well, it's not our job, you know, we just
Correct.
take the projects and, you know, you gotta work it all out with them, make sure that everything meets all the township standards, and then if it does meet the township, if they think it meets township standards or doesn't in certain areas, they take it to us and we vote up or down, and I don't think you got a project here that's ready to vote up or down on yet.
Where I'm confused is when this came before the planning commission, I think it was in July.
Yeah, the resolution didn't reference any phases. In fact, the resolution said one phase. And
It's been in the documentation, but anyways, okay.
it didn't.
Yeah, phasing's a big deal,
Yeah, I mean,
I understand, for you too.
we've been in communication with staff and
Right.
I thought that was, but
So motion to table, I'll second that.
I think Tim already did.
Oh, do we wanna vote on it? Did we vote on it?
We have not voted on it because there's further discussion. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of tabling item 7B, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes to table. Ms. Linay,
Okay.
talk to us about the architectural
Yeah, we
standards for
can-
industrial.
And hopefully you've had time to review this. A couple things. This is a carbon copy of our architectural standards in our ordinance today, and so everything that's underlined is proposed to be new. Section A, adding the word industrial, adding references to the industrial districts. A couple things I cleaned up that we've gone back and forth on that are not related to industrial. On page 1, that a building shall front the primary road. We just dealt with that today. And then if provided, storefront entries shall be recessed 3 feet, because sometimes we don't get storefront entries. And then reiterating that it's clear and also transparent. I mean, to me, that's the same, but I wanted to have that in there. The drive-through, I added the term drop-off and drive-up because we've had that debate with some applicants, like, say they're just doing, like, dropping off, I don't know, goods for a business that may be retail or even a restaurant pickup window that's not officially a drive-through, that those service locations would be oriented away from M37. So it's something to just look at, that change. And then the bulk of these changes are on page 4 related to industrial buildings. So this would be anything in our industrial districts. And they're quite extensive. I don't know if you want me to read through all of them or just discuss them, but we have the same building material standard for all of the other buildings in our township. That may or may not be appropriate for industrial, but we've talked about it in the past, that we don't want unfinished concrete block, plain concrete tilt-up panels, unfinished metal panels or vinyl siding, but we might be open to that, I'm not sure, but that's in here.
In theory, we want them to look like the south side of 68th Street. Help me out with the name of the development.
Tecton?
That's the name of the building in there. Is it
Oh,
South Point?
Yeah, the industrial park.
What, aseptic is and all those guys?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
That's the idea, that we want nice looking
Yeah,
buildings,
they're nice
not,
looking buildings, for
not
sure.
tilt up concrete
Yeah.
block buildings.
South Belt Drive.
South Belt Industrial Park,
Thank you.
yeah. Page 5, the building articulation, we say that if you have a wall plane exceeding 100 feet in length, we give you kind of a menu. I felt that that might be better, that they can pick. Do you want to do 2-foot offsets every 40 feet? Do you want to change building material, texture, or color? Would you want to do architectural reveals? Maybe we want to change to 3 inches since that wasn't, maybe that's just too minuscule to notice. Varied roof line or integrating windows. We have a section on rooftop screening. That's, we've had some issues with HVAC on the rooftops that, especially when adjacent to residential, we want to see that those are screened. Section 5 on the ground-mounted mechanical and generators. With a lot of industrial now, we're seeing generators that can be quite loud and obtrusive. So we have requirements here that they're 200 feet from any residential district, that they're on the side opposite the residential district, that the orientation is away from the residential district, and that they're clearly depicted on the site plan. We don't want someone adding them later, not showing us those things. We also want to require acoustic enclosures so that any backup generators with mechanical equipment have custom designed enclosures with sound attenuating barriers so that the sound is not obtrusive and sound levels are not, hopefully heard by the residential around those industrial areas, because we do have industrial abutting residential. We give daytime hours for decibel levels, nighttime hours for decibel levels, and we also have a lower decibel level if you are adjacent to residential. We know that these generators can be tested at times, that can be loud. So we want to make sure that that testing is during kind of business hours, that it's only 2 hours per event and only testing 1 test per week. We also want the ability to require a sound study. Again, these generators and industrial businesses can make noise. And so we give some standards for how that sound study would be prepared and what the requirements are to be included. We have equipment screening requirements. Sometimes there's, transformers, other equipment on the ground, that those would be screened by masonry walls, minimum 6 feet in height or the height of the equipment plus 1 foot. and that there be evergreen landscaping around that, and achieve full screening within 2 growing seasons. We're proposing some increased setbacks for industrial buildings when they're adjacent to residential. And we don't have any ability to waive that in this language, but we do have a relief valve on page 8. We want to see that parking and loading docks and maneuvering be set back 200 feet from a residential district boundary. We have enhanced buffering requirements, that the buffer be 150 feet in width, and that would be adjacent to any residential zoning, that there be an earth berm, and canopy trees, as well as evergreen trees and shrubs, and that berm be irrigated and all the landscaping be irrigated, and that the buffer be maintained. Outdoor storage and loading docks, similar to the generator and mechanicals, would have to be opposite any residential district and screened from view, and that dumpster enclosures also be screened. The greenbelt, we've enhanced that greenbelt area to be 50 feet along the public road, 1 tree per 30 feet for a canopy, and ornamentals, 1 tree per 20, and evergreen, 1 tree per 20. So we're gonna have a more robust greenbelt. And we've included parking lot screening. And the relief valve, I mentioned that the planning commission can modify these requirements, and we give you some standards for that. So that the modifications are consistent with the intent of the architectural standards, and to minimize impacts on residential, that the modifications provide equivalent or superior design quality and impact mitigation, and that the mitigations don't create negative impacts on adjacent properties or public health, safety, and welfare.
All right. This is informational, but will be an ordinance recommendation at some point, correct?
Yes, so this is just our first draft. This eventually would come to the planning commission for a public hearing, and it would amend our chapter 3.59.
So a couple comments. Page 5, where we talk about 3 inches.
Yes,
On a 100-foot wall, you're not even gonna see that.
yeah.
We need to think about that. Rooftop screening, I wanna make sure it's, and it appears, but I just wanna clarify that's from all directions, that the equipment is screened on the roof.
Okay,
A la Tractor Supply, you can see it as you're heading northbound on M37. You can't see it if you're heading south. On the same page, the ground-mounted mechanical equipment, have we confirmed that the decibel requirements are actually achievable? Let's talk
I
to the
don't know what
generator
that-
guy
yeah.
and confirm that. The township has a generator guy, ask it.
Oh,
have
we
them-
do?
Yeah,
Okay,
have Allison reach out to them and confirm that these are actually legitimate, possible things to accomplish. Obviously, that rolls into page, what's interesting is on page 6, it's, the sound requirement is if it exceeds 50 decibels at the equipment, so we should find out.
It should be at the lot line.
Well, that's if the 6 is when a sound study is required. Page 6 is when a sound study is required. So in other words, if every generator out there is 60 decibels, then
Gotcha.
everything will require even if you put a hush kit and that kind of stuff, like, are we forcing it? Like, if we're just saying you have to do a sound study,
right,
let's just say it and not,
right.
and not play guessing games.
And I would say every generator, I mean, a quick Google, 50 decibels is a relatively quiet, normal conversation, so.
Yeah, it's, We should just verify that. Item 7, the Greenbelt landscaping, want to verify where we say a minimum 50-foot wide landscape area shall be maintained along all public roads. Does that 50-foot include the right-of-way? Should it include the right-of-way?
Oh, it would be outside of the right-of-way.
We need to clarify that.
That was on page 7? Okay.
Yes, under Greenbelt landscaping.
Thank you.
That was my quick thoughts about that. Did anybody else write down their quick thoughts? Or have any other quick thoughts?
You covered all mine.
Is this what you were hoping for
Yes.
when we've been talking about that? Okay.
Yes. Now, I do have some questions regarding, so we have a landscape ordinance. The landscape ordinance, I want to make sure we're not ending up with, thank you for coming. You need me to sign anything? No, you're good. Okay. That we're not putting conflicting information between here and the landscape ordinance.
Yeah.
And there's changes I've asked in the landscape ordinance about making sure that there's all hard edging around like, bark or, you know.
And the weed.
And the weed barrier and
barrier.
those type of things. As long as we're updating, let's make sure we don't have, you know me, I'm a big, let's not put it in 2 places, let's put it in 1 and reference it, and let's make sure we have it right. But just make sure we don't have any conflicting items where we have people, but the landscape ordinance says this and this says this.
Yeah. When we have this for public hearing, I'm gonna be adding a few other ordinance changes, not just this, when we do our hearing. And the landscape thing is in there, as well as some refinement to the accessory building. So, okay.
All right.
I will double check that.
Does anybody else have any?
The goal was to make this, to have a more robust greenbelt buffer than what our current landscape standards are. So I could add a sentence that says, that lets folks know that it is our intention that this is different from the other.
But the
Chapter.
requirements in the landscape still apply.
Still apply all the
These
other
are-
general requirements, it's just the quantities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that obviously I prefer probably a table in the landscaping
Yeah.
section that lists what's required from each property. It's easy for us to read tables.
Yeah, I should maybe just move this over to landscaping. Okay.
Is there an example of an industrial park that might be similar to or meet these kinds of standards that we could go look at?
Our hope was that this would resemble more of, say, like 36th Street, Patterson, kind of Cascade Township, some of their landscaping that they have with their buildings set further back, more of a green belt in front.
Okay.
I think of
Near the
like
airport.
South Belt with more landscaping up front
Okay.
and more distance and, like, I don't have a problem, like, the buildings look nice there in that development. Like, all industrials should kind of look like that.
That's what I'm wondering about, if, how far we want to go with
There's
materials.
gotta be a place for dirtball real estate too, though. It just doesn't have to be here.
We just say the side that faces anything that people see.
If you can see it, yeah. Man,
If you're
there's-
the neighbor, you don't want to look across.
No, there's some rough stuff. I mean, I dropped, over to Dutton first, driving between Kentwood and Dutton area there. There's some rough stuff over there, right in that area and that sort of thing.
We just want to get ahead of it, and
Yeah.
the quicker we're ahead of it, the better. So does anybody else have any directions, comments for?
How far, are we talking a month, 6 months? Like, when do you think we'll potentially have a public hearing and this will be further along?
I'd like to have the hearing soon. I know John Eberly was really interested in this too, so I'll send him an email just to make sure he's getting us comments. And then I'll work with Allison to get the name of the person that's doing the work with our generator. But I'd like to have this to you guys real soon, so that's on the agenda, maybe, maybe the 15th,
16th.
16th.
I'm not sure who's doing our generator work, but a company that I use at Kent County is Wolverine Power Systems. They're good.
It's Michigan Critical Power.
Okay.
They do industrial generators as well, so.
Okay.
I guess there was one other thing that I just had on these architectural standards. Are we gonna, I see there's exemptions listed on the very front here. Are we gonna put like religious institutions or religious facilities in there too? Or are we gonna?
They have their own requirements, right?
We haven't discussed that before. We could add that.
As an exempt?
Yeah,
I don't think that's something we probably wanna get involved in, is it? Is architectural standards on churches and mosques?
yeah.
It's a great way to test. Yeah, that might be a good exemption to have.
Yeah. Most of ours are in the, like, ag, R1, R2, like the residential districts. That's probably why it's not on this list.
Okay,
But I think we can still add it, because might as well.
right.
That would be covered under the zoning, the landscape requirements in that zoning,
Yeah.
as far as landscaping.
Mm-hmm. For religious institutions, yeah.
You don't have a problem with landscaping requirements?
Generally, no,
Okay,
no.
for religious.
I mean, you know, even churches should have nice bushes and shrubs out front, right?
Right. All right, anything further?
If anyone has any other questions or comments, you can always email me or call.
All right, thank you. Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the 5-minute public comment. Commissioner comments, does any commissioners have comments?
My only one would be the meetings for February 16th. We have a joint meeting and a regular meeting. Yeah, I will not be there. I think I've emailed you on that.
You did, yeah, thank you. I was gonna say that under correspondence and staff updates, that we are gonna have a joint meeting with the township board on that President's Day, that February 16th, starts at 5:30. We'll be bringing in dinner. And we're working on the agenda, conversation about land use, about rural preservation. Gonna talk about sidewalks and trails a little bit if we get to that. We're gonna talk about land use on the corridor here by Main Street, and then also land use around M6 and Foremost in that area, since we're seeing some transition out of office. You know, what is the future of that area?
Cool. All right, so commissioner comments are done. Any additional correspondence and staff updates?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Bradshaw, support by
Support.
McLean. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. We are adjourned.
I'm gonna change my plans. We're gonna have a free dinner that night.
I mean,
Come back
Yeah.
from Arkansas.
These planning commissioner stipends don't.
So is that all that stuff, is that all public, is that all an open meeting
yeah,
with the dinner and all that?
uh-huh.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's all published.
Yeah,
I will not be here for the February 2nd meeting.
Okay.
Let's, if anybody else is not going to be here, please let Ms. Lene know, so the chair doesn't have to, oh crap, we didn't do that.
What were we gonna do, election?
Elections.
Oh, I didn't realize. Well, we have 2 people missing.
They can be volunteered.
That's the one, yeah. It's all work.
You won't be here on the 2nd. Can we do them on the 16th?
Sure. I don't know.
Well, I hope Pung gets it together, man.
Just be careful. We're all here. No open meeting act violation.
No, we closed it.
I'm not deliberating on any.
I'm not deliberating, I'm just commenting. Totally different than a deliberating.
How long have you been living in the township?